And welcome back to John Bachman Now. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's top advisors pressured state health officials to remove a public report showing that more nursing home residents had died of COVID-19 than the administration had acknowledged. According to the Wall Street Journal, the July report, which focused on the contributing factors that led to the spread of the virus in nursing homes, only focused on residents that died in the nursing homes. The Cuomo administration reported 6,432 deaths in those nursing homes. One of the Wall Street Journal's sources claims the initial version of the report said nearly 10,000 nursing home residents had died. Now, that's not the only scandal that the governor is dealing with. 3 women have now come forward to accuse the governor of sexual harassment. One of his accusers, Charlotte Bennett, spoke with CBS News about her allegations. She claims the governor brought up her horrific experience as a sexual assault victim. Take a listen.
So he goes, "You were raped. You were raped. You were raped and abused and assaulted." He asked if I had trouble enjoying being with someone because of my trauma.
She also told CBS that the governor was looking for a girlfriend and asked if she was okay with dating a man older than her. Let's discuss this and more with Stacy Washington. She's the host of Stacy on the Right on Sirius XM. She's also the co-chair of Project 21. Also with us, Executive Director of USA Strong, Erin Elmore, and also producer and director, Robbie Starbuck. Robbie is also a congressional candidate for Tennessee's 5th Congressional District. Okay, so all New York State employees are required to undergo a sexual harassment training. This is a law that Cuomo had signed himself to, get on the Me Too bandwagon. 2 case studies in October 2019 gave examples of inappropriate behavior. One of those was even called the boss with the bad attitude. I guess he didn't quite pay attention, Stacy, to his own legislation and his own regulations here.
Well, what's good for thee, but not for me. I mean, so Governor Cuomo, I don't know if people caught when he was apologizing that he said that he was a governor who liked to kiss, and he said men and women, it's my normal form of greeting. But he also said, my father was also a very demonstrative person. He was the governor as well. So he made an appeal to authority, essentially excusing his behavior because he's a very touchy-feely, loving guy who is a governor, whose dad was also a governor. So that type of thought process indicates that he really doesn't feel that these type of trainings apply to him. He's at the top. The underlings need to be trained. But for him, he's looking for a girlfriend. And if he sees someone young and cute, he's going to try to cajole her into possibly being in a relationship with him. But in the very worst possible way, because he referred to something that is so brutal and so horrifying that you would never discuss with a stranger. And he brought it up to her as a matter of course to almost guilt her into considering his offering, which was disgusting and really, honestly, just it's incomprehensible.
I mean, he said, Erin, he said in that press conference this week that he could not fathom how what he said or did could have been interpreted as offensive or hurtful. He knew that this woman was a sexual assault victim, yet he brought it up. And he propositioned her, or he made her feel very uncomfortable, suggesting that the two of them could have a sexual relationship. He doesn't get it. This guy's living in his own head.
It's really sad. It's really troubling. I am an attorney. I'm certainly not his attorney, but if I was, I would tell him to stop talking, because every word that comes out of his mouth, he just digs a deeper and deeper hole. And it's really sad. I feel terrible for these women. I feel terrible for all victims. I just hope that we are not talking about the sexual assault because it's a lesser of the 2 evils of the nursing home death. I don't mean us here at Newsmax. I mean the mainstream media, because the mainstream media is really focusing on these sexual assault allegations, and they should. Don't get me wrong, they absolutely should. But they should also be focusing on what happened in these nursing homes and how there was a massive, almost conspiracy and cover-up. So both of these issues need to be dealt with. They need to be dealt with separately and in different fashions, because they're both serious, they are both troubling, they are both immoral, and they are both wrong. And I would venture to say that Cuomo's political career is over.
All right. Aaron, a very important point. You know, sex sells, so people do tend to talk about that. But there could be a crime here in terms of the way that he handled these people. Certainly, you have thousands of families that are looking for closure, and the governor basically may have gamed the system in order to pump up his poll numbers. Robbie, what's the bombshell interview that you saw last night?
Well, I just empathize so much with the young woman, Miss Bennett. You could tell that this was someone who was not just grasping at straws. This is a very clear story. This is somebody who worked for him, who is a Democrat. There's not a political component here in terms of that, where, they're trying to get back at him or something. It was very clear. So I empathize with her. But to, piggyback off the last point, I think that, again, it's interesting that the media is focused on these stories and not the killing of thousands of grandparents. I think that if you were looking at the lens of a Republican doing it, you would see a very, very different reaction to the nursing home scandal. And on top of that, we have to look at the fact that on the right, stations like Newsmax and other places, we knew this was going on in the nursing homes a long time ago, and they were reporting on it. And the mainstream media was refusing to touch it. Not only were they refusing to touch it, they were turning Cuomo into some kind of hero. And it got to the point where he literally won an Emmy for his response to COVID. That should make everybody sick. That should make everybody realize how insane our media has gotten in terms of being out of control biased for the Democrats.
There was a new Quinnipiac poll that came out. And remember, back in May, Cuomo's, to your point, Robbie, Cuomo's job approval was 72%. It has now dropped below 50, though 55% said that he should not resign in this poll. But it's very important to point out, though, that the poll is kind of even fake news. They're trying to maybe even cover for him here because only 16% of the respondents were self-identified Republicans in this poll. So actually, his numbers are far worse. Stacy, they're still covering for him. I mean, how do you put out a poll with 16% Republican respondents and expect to get a credible number about what his real situation is?
Well, this is nothing new when there's a Democrat politician who's got a problem, such as Governor Cuomo. They normally go to polling mechanisms that don't sample Republicans because they know Republicans are going to have a much sharper view of what's happened. But Democrats also are very upset about what has happened in the nursing homes. And so I don't care what the polls say. I look at the severity of both of the allegations against him. One, that he's a serial sexual harasser. That should be disqualified immediately because of the standard that's been set against Republican politicians in the same position by the Me Too movement. But moving towards the more serious allegations that he not only sent elderly patients back into nursing homes to die, but that he then pressured his underlings to cover it up and kept that cover up going while he was seeking accolades publicly and best-selling book. All of this, it's a kind of mobster type of behavior that deserves punishment. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Republican and he's a Democrat. I'm saying that because 15,000 grandparents died. They were literally at his disposal. They were relying upon him as the governor to take care of them, and he didn't do it. He killed them in essence because of his actions. That's something we as Americans should shut our partisanship and actually prosecute him because it's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Robbie, Aaron, and Stacy. You're going to sit with us. We're going to have you back in the next hour. We're going to discuss Michael Brown's dad is now demanding $20 million from Black Lives Matter.